So when I think about empathy as an entry point, the biggest piece of that is really centering students and then using them as a means to understanding how you differentiate and how you can be responsive to their needs that yield long-term impact and outcomes. So when we think about our students, we center them in everything that we do, but oftentimes the work that we do is for their benefit. And it's not always the case that we center them in the process. What does that mean? So if you were to take a look at a plant and you would see that, let's say the plant is not thriving in the environment that it's in, the first thing that you would do is likely think about, okay, what are things in the environment that I can calibrate to actually get this plant to grow? Do they need more sunshine? Does it need more fertilizer? Do I need to water it less or more? The same manner in which you would do that is the same manner in which it's really important to center students. When we think about what their needs are, there's a whole history that oftentimes follows them into the classroom. And then teachers are tasked with the responsibility of using that information to inform the decisions that they make about how they're planning lessons, how they're facilitating activities, how they're actually facilitating learning for students. But oftentimes there is more to the pieces of the puzzle beyond just the data that comes along with a student. And oftentimes that information is information that oftentimes is not being asked of the student, like for them to share the insights around how their worlds outside of the classroom come into the classroom. What are the things that matter to them? What are the cultural sensitivities that they might have? All of these pieces are data as well, but oftentimes don't take center stage in how we actually facilitate learning for students. And when you think about the ACT method, the first piece of ACT is accepting. And so in addition to being able to create and teach, which are the next steps, the first step is being able to have full awareness and create actionable steps to be able to actually lead students towards shifting and shifting outcomes and shifting how they experience the classroom, which has a direct impact on how they do in the classroom.
Awesome. Okay, so I was a teacher for many years. I went to college to be a teacher, right? My degree is in math education. And I taught on the high school level. I taught on the college level. I was a principal for a while. And I am guessing that when teachers hear that we are telling them we have a solution, right? We have a way for them to engage with their students, make their job the best job in the world again, make the students more responsive to learning, make them hungry, that they might be thinking, like I might have thought, I'm tired. Like I have done so much as a teacher, I'm exhausted. And now you're asking me to do another thing. I just wonder, how would you respond to a teacher who says that?
So what I would say in response is that what we're offering in the ACT method is essentially something that benefits both the teacher and student. So historically, strategies and different coaching, professional development that is geared towards impacting student outcomes really centers the student in terms of all the things that can be done for the student for the benefit of the student. What we're offering is distinctly different because there is going to be an outcome. A positive outcome in the way that students experience their teachers and therefore perform in terms of how they receive information, how they actually internalize learning, right? But the added bonus to the facilitator of learning is that it actually invites you and encourages you to be the best version of yourself, right? Before you can accept where your students are wholeheartedly, taking into account the pieces of data that you know, and also leaving room for blind spots, right, which are very real, and doing the work to actually excavate and get clarity on those blind spots so that they can put those two pieces together to create a plan to help students, right? In order to accept where a student is, you first have to accept where you are as an educator, and thinking about what are the practices that you need to increase, what are the ways in which your blind spots might be impacting your ability to facilitate learning for the students that are in front of you. So this essentially calls to action for teachers to be the best versions of themselves as individuals first, so that they can model what it looks like to accept yourself, right? And utilizing your self-awareness of where you are. A teacher is better positioned to be able to model that for students if they've actually had to go through the process themselves. And what we're offering actually invites teachers to engage in that.
Okay, so there is a story that you tell in the book that I mean, the book is so full of like incredible stories, but this one rocked me. It shook me to my core, and it made me understand finally, after all these years of being out of education, it made me understand why I left, and it made me long to go back. So I wonder if you could share that story. You know the one I'm talking about, with everybody.
Absolutely. So the story that you're referring to is actually the the experience that actually catapulted me into education. I had been working in corporate training for a number of years. I was laid off, and it was the first opportunity that I had to consider the possibility of what it might mean to actually work in an industry that was connected to my core beliefs as a human being, and also allowed me to pour into communities and pour into young people. And so I had the fortunate opportunity to begin volunteering at an organization that at the time was underneath the Bloomberg administration and was fighting recidivism in the South Bronx. And so I was tasked with being a case manager for a caseload of young adults, both male and female, but predominantly between the ages of 17 to 24, and having recently been released from Rikers or other institutions of incarceration that exist in New York City and greater New York City. And so the first day, I showed up to the South Bronx to an office in an environment and neighborhood that I'd never been in before. And I came ready in my suit. I came ready with my notes. I came ready with my dry erase markers. I came ready to teach the students about work readiness and give them all the reasons and strategies for how to get back into the world and be able to contribute to it in a positive way. And I was met with an experience that continued for a few months. And that experience was essentially having a really hard time connecting with those young people. I admittedly went in thinking that it was my job to save them. And in my ignorance and my arrogance, went in thinking that I could somehow bestow upon them something that would change their situation. And what I learned about that mindset is that it totally was the antithesis of everything that I wanted to do. My intention was to help, but I actually went in with blind spots. My intention was to create change. But all of that was based on what I wanted. And what unfolded from that experience was me essentially leaving work every day, feeling defeated and sad and wondering like why they didn't like me and why I couldn't connect with them and why they couldn't see all my hard work. But what I never really considered was, had I given them any reason to respect me? Had I set sound standards? Had I set expectations? And also, most importantly, had I asked questions? These young people looked like me. They could have been individuals that I could have been related to. And I think that there was a part of me that banked on that fact, that would enable me to somehow connect with them in a way that enabled me to learn about them. And nothing could be farther from the truth. The experiences of those young people were very different than anything that I had experienced. And some of them had been grappling and were grappling with situations, trauma, a whole gamut of challenges that they face on a daily basis that I had never experienced, some of which I had never even heard of. And so my ignorance preceded me, and my students noticed it. They were aware of it, and they gave me a hard time, and rightfully so. I had to work to be able to build relationships with them. And most of that work went from me decentering myself as I am here to save you, I'm here to help you, and shifting into I'm here to learn, I'm here to understand, I'm here to empower you to be able to help yourself. And the only way that I can do that is if I understand and gain understanding of the nuances of your lives, of the bits and pieces that are part of your story and have a huge impact on the story and its trajectory. How can I possibly be enabled to help you and support you if I don't center that? And so that's essentially what I started doing, being more quiet, listening more, right? Realizing there's a reason why I have 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? That 2 ears are meant for listening more. 1 mouth is, for being able to speak less. And through that experience of shifting, right? Shifting from being interested in doing to being more interested in learning and being a student myself, right? That was what I was able to create, right? And then teach, were create a space where students felt safe, right? And then once they felt safe, they allowed me to teach them. And before any of that, I had to accept where I was, accept the fact that I did not know everything, accept that I knew a lot less than I thought that I did, accept that these individuals, for as much adversity as they had come with into the space, they had that much more knowledge, that much more power, that much more insight, that much more wisdom that could benefit me in being able to support them, right, and empower them. And so once I accepted that, that led to me accepting them for where they were. And then it was reciprocal, right? And then we got to, as a collective, move into a space where we were able to create relationships and create space, create opportunities for them. And those young people, like, I still remember them to this day. I will never forget them. And it was them that actually like sparked the fire that led me want to go into schools, into the places where those young people said that they did not feel accepted, they did not feel seen, they did not feel heard, and oftentimes were seen in a way like they were more of a threat than actual students trying to learn. I wanted to go into the spaces where that was happening to see if there was a way that I could stop it. Those young people changed my life, and I went in trying to change theirs, but it actually ended up happening and being the case that they changed mine.
So Channon, I wonder, what are the risks that we're truly facing? Like, can you language that in a way that people can understand the risks we're facing if our education system, our antiquated, outdated, ineffective education system isn't overhauled in a way that prepares students for this AI world, this AR world, this VR world, this highly technological world that they are about to enter? You know, it's been said that a kid who is in ninth grade now is learning things that won't be applicable when they graduate in 3 years. That is a terrifying thought. So I wonder if we don't implement what the positive effect is trying to teach about how we can bridge these gaps, break through barriers, connect with students, teach them to be learners, inspire them to be positive themselves and look at the future positively and do what's necessary to succeed. If we don't do that, what might the world look like in a couple of years, I wonder?
So if we do not flip on its head the experience of our students, we run the risk of ushering in the oncoming generations with the full knowledge that they are not going to be able to carry the torch forward and actually make progress. We're at a time in our country where there is a call to action for an awareness, a growing awareness that our current infrastructure is not working, right? It's not working for the least of these. It's not working for the people that need the most support. And education is one component of that. And so what we're seeing now is the instance of more and more students either not getting to the finish line of high school or getting to the finish line, passing it, but not actually having the skills to be able to be in a world and be empowered to actually live a life that is thriving and also live a life where they are engaging in the world from a space of their power as opposed to a space of deficiency. And so using the positive effect for educators, thinking about ACT, accepting, creating, and teaching, and using empathy as an entry point to be responsive to student needs is essentially teaching students to, one, see the best in themselves, right? Because that is being modeled, right? And taught to them from the facilitators of learning that are their teachers, right? The folks that are teaching them what it means to stand firm in what makes you different, right? When we think about being in the classroom and being responsive, every student is different and has different needs. And so this one size cookie cutter way of teaching does not lend itself to being responsive to all that students come with beyond their identity as a student. And so, for example, if you think about the implications of what it means to teach students from particular neighborhoods and backgrounds, students are oftentimes coming into the school space with a whole host of various other issues, concerns, very real life, very real concerns tied to their life outside of school into the classroom. So if there isn't a space for them to address those concerns, if there isn't a space or a facilitator of learning is not attuned to those, doesn't acknowledge them and doesn't take them into account, then you're essentially removing an aspect of a child's identity that very much plays a role in how they actually learn underneath your tutelage, right? And so if we continue on that pattern, we are simultaneously setting up the next big changers of tomorrow, like our next presidents, our next world changers, our next Maya Angelou's, our next artists, our next revolutionaries. They are sitting in classrooms right now. And so if they don't have facilitators of learning that are able to parse through all the things, essentially, that these students are coming into the classroom with, what if the next Maya Angelou doesn't get to be? Or what if the next world changer doesn't get to step into their place? Or what if the next Obama doesn't get to step up into his place? And so when I think about the true value of this book, it really lies in opening up a space that empowers our next generation of world changers to not just step into their roles as they move out into the world and make it better, but do so from a space of acknowledging that life comes with circumstances, but also at the same time, you can still learn, you can still move forward, you can still push progress, you can still make change. All of that is in the hands of the facilitators of learning.
Are you struggling to manage high blood pressure? Discover a transformative breakthrough in the new Amazon book, Eradicating Hypertension: How Patient K Accidentally Got Rid of High Blood Pressure. Follow the incredible story of Patient K, who found an unexpected cure through targeted breathing techniques and lifestyle changes. Learn how proper breathing, oxygen levels, and assistive devices can revolutionize your approach to health. With practical tips and actionable strategies, this book unveils alternatives to medication-heavy management. Reclaim your wellness and vitality with expert insights today. Start your journey to better health. Grab your copy of Eradicating Hypertension at Amazon now.
Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us on this very exciting episode of 846 Publishing. I encourage you to grab the book, The Positive Effect by Channon Essex, April Sabral, and yours truly. And if you are a school administrator looking for professional development for your teachers is going to make an immediate impact in how they teach and how they connect with students, get in touch with us. We love to offer that professional support. And please support our sponsor, Eradicating Hypertension. I mean, honestly, what could be more important than caring for your physical health in this day and age? We are facing so many challenges, as we've been talking about throughout the show, all kinds of challenges, educational, financial, political, even, mental and emotional challenges. The one thing that we can bring into alignment is our physical health. And Eradicating Hypertension does just that for you. It offers you solutions to some of the health concerns that you are facing. It's an incredible book. It's an incredible website. Get involved, connect with them, and buy the book. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.